Welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Urban Performance Labs. It's a fitness company out of Australia that's based here in the United States. When it comes to fitness, working out and training, supplementation is the key. These guys have got some of the #1 products on the market right now. Check it out. We got the Ultra Test. We have got the Omega Fish Oil, which is amazing for your liver. We've got the vitamin B drops and the creatine. If you drop the WHH promo code, you're going to get 10% off your order. Also, if you spend over $200, guys, we're going to ship it anywhere in the world for free. And as you know, shipping prices are huge, so we're going to ship that for free. And check out all the merchandise that you see right behind me here. You can get T-shirts, hats, cups, bags, mugs, whatever you need. Tell them Marcus sent you. Of course, we're also sponsored by MMA Uncensored, the #1 mixed martial arts site on the internet. Check these guys out. They've got all your mixed martial arts needs. Make sure you go and give them a follow, a like, and a subscribe. Drop a comment and tell them that you saw this on the show. What happens here? Of course, today's episode is proudly fueled by...
This is the current Irish Whiskey belt holder. This is the Rich and Smooth Challenger. Ding, ding. Proper #12 Irish Whiskey. One for all.
What's the story, guys? Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Marcus Deegan shooting straight from Sin City here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you very much for joining us on all of our social media platforms. Also, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and of course, if you're watching us here on YouTube, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. We have another kick-ass guest in the house today. Man, I'm pumped about this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna talk a little bit about this guy. Now, look, I normally just do my intros off the bat. I had to write a few things down because this man's resume is massive. I have an amazing life. I live in Las Vegas. I get to talk to amazing people. I have this podcast. However, this man takes living life to the fullest, to the stratosphere. Let me tell you about this guy. He was a former president for the Hells Angels Bike Club. He's an Italian bad boy. He's an actor. He's a stuntman. He's a bodyguard for some of the most A-list clients in the world. Let me run off a couple of these. Angelina Jolie, Bill Clinton, Sylvester Stallone, Pamela Anderson. He's buddies with Mickey Rourke, Mike Tyson, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's been on the Howard Stern show many, many times. But today, he's in the studio with me. But look, don't believe what I'm saying? Check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to the podcast one of the most infamous, one of the most famous characters that's graced the TV screen. Would you please welcome to my show, Mr. Chuck Zito!
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Chuck.
Thank you for having me.
Mate, thank you. I appreciate you being here. This has been a long time coming. I'm glad I finally got you here. First of all, why are you here in Las Vegas right now?
I'm actually filming a movie here.
Okay.
And called Dark Angel.
Can you describe exactly what it's about?
With one of our dear friends, 6-time UFC champion, Randy Couture.
Is that right? Randy's performing in this movie as well.
Absolutely.
What's his acting skills like, Chuck?
He's great. This is my second movie I've done with him.
Right.
And he of course, was the Expendables.
Yep.
All the Expendables. He's just a great guy. And his girlfriend, Mindy Robinson, wrote the script.
Is that right? Now, when does this plan on being released?
Well, they're still filming it, so you figure a year from now, the time it gets all, time it gets edited and finished and everything.
Yeah, so we had a few technical problems here before the show, but you were sitting there very patiently. Is that something that you learned being an actor, Chuck? You have
absolutely.
So it's take after take after take.
Take after take after take.
Does that get boring if you do like a really good job and then the director says, "Nah, do it again"?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was a stuntman, I did a long staff fall on marble. And the director says, that was great.
Stairs down the
stairs. Yeah. We used to do, all kinds of fight scenes and rappelling from buildings and getting thrown off buildings and landing in airbags, all that stuff. So he says, that was great. Can you do one more time? I said, absolutely. I'll do it. And the last step, I hit my head, cracked my head.
Do you have a lot of injuries being a stuntman, Chuck? Because you look like you're in amazing shape.
Not really. I feel good. I've never really hurt myself. I hurt myself more in jiu-jitsu than I did in stunts.
Yep. So looking at that sizzle reel that we played, man, you don't look much different. Can I ask how old you are?
March 1st, I'll be 68.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, how do you not age? Is it the Italian blood?
Well, you know what? I think what preserved me, I never smoked, never drank, and I never took a drug in my life. Never even tried it. So I think that preserved me a little, and that's why I look, still young.
It's quite funny that you say that you've never done drugs or you never smoked or drank. I suppose the stigma and the perception that people have of bikers and bike clubs and motorcycle clubs is that they're all drug addicts and that they're all criminals. You kind of have stood out from that. What separated you from that, Chuck? Being in that environment, being the president of the Hells Angels, how did you stay?
In New York Nomads. Not the whole club.
Right, but for your sector, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep on the straight and narrow being in that environment?
Well, you know what? It's because I've never done any drugs and everything else, but I've been around more drugs than a drugstore.
Right.
And some people, even celebrities I've bodyguarded for. But I just never did it. And I was, like I said, at a young age, I started boxing. My father was a professional boxer, so I never got into the bad habits.
Right. I mean, if you guys are listening right now, I got to tell you, this man looks incredible for 68 years of age. I've got more wrinkles than him, and I'm 50. Your physique is still. You still train a lot?
Well, I haven't. I actually, because I'm at the hotel, they put me up in a beautiful hotel, the Green Valley Ranch and Spa here in Henderson.
Beautiful hotel.
And they have a great gym there. And I haven't not lifted a weight in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. I just do, my calisthenics at home and my push-ups and my sit-ups, things like that to keep, fit. But I just started lifting again.
Yeah.
And I go there at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm the only one in the gym. So it's like my private gym.
So you can train with your shirt off.
Yeah. Well, no, not really, but,
Now, when you look at those videos like that, you're in phenomenal shape. Does it have a psychological effect when you've been training your whole life? You've always had a rig. You've always been built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah.
When you don't train for 3 years, is that kind of like, do you ever look at yourself in the mirror and go, fuck, I got to get back into it again? Or
yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
You, especially that video you did before when I was training. I was 50 years old there.
Right. Wow.
So I was 50 there. So
yeah,
that was 18 years ago.
That's just incredible. That's amazing. I mean, you've had such a, like in my intro, I said you're the type of person that it's my life. It's now or never. I'm not going to live forever. I'm going to live while I'm alive,
Absolutely.
And you've done that, and you've done so many things. You've had a lot of ups, and you've also had a lot of downs.
Yes.
Not in your career, but maybe in your personal life. So obviously, how old were you when you joined the Hells Angels?
I was 24 when I came around. I was 25 when I became a Hells Angels, 1979, and I was in the club for 25 years. And then in 2004, I quit the club.
Now, what was your reason for joining the club?
Because those are the people who inspired me to ride a motorcycle. I remember in 1967, I was 14 years old, and I went to go see Hells Angels on Wheels with Jack Nicholson and Sonny Barga. And they inspired me. I went home, and I took a Schwinn bicycle and a lawnmower, and I built a mini bike. And I went to Jack's Army Navy store, and I bought a dungaree jacket for $6. And I hand-painted on the back of the jacket the opposite of Hells Angels, Heaven's Devils. So I was riding around town with my mini bike and my new colors.
Is that right?
And that's how it started.
So why did it finish?
So basically, I was riding my mini bike, and I saw a guy named Tall Paul Westermeyer. I saw a chopper, right down the block from me, and I went in there, and all of a sudden I hear a guy, "Hey, what are you doing by that bike?" And I look up, and there's this big guy with all the colors with all the medals on it that's back in '67. And I said, shit, there's a Hell's Angel living in my neighborhood, man. But he turned out to be, he was a member of the Bronx Aliens, which was a big club back then. And I became friends with him. Even though he was like 18 years old, I was 14. And I used to jump on the back of his bike, and he gave me for a ride. And he taught me how to, basically I found out how to build bikes and everything from him, learned how to paint from him and everything. And then when I was riding around with my friends after I built my first motorcycle when I was 16. It was a Sportster. It was a basket case, and Paul helped me build it. And I started, riding motorcycles. My friends had motorcycles, so we started a local club called New Rochelle MC, just a place to go and hang out with my friends. And then we had some parties, and other bike clubs came, and there was a club there called the Chingling Nomads from the Bronx. And it was an outlaw motorcycle club in the Bronx, and we wound up merging with them. Mm. And I was a member of their club for about 4 years, and then we went to a Hell's Angel party that happened to be Connecticut's 2-year anniversary party. And what happened was I started, I quit the Chinglings and started hanging out with the Hell's Angels.
With the big guns.
And those are the guys, when I met them, they inspired me. Yep. Now, what happened was when I was a Chingling, we were playing pool, and it was in the Bronx, the tenements there. They had small, alleyways, and somebody said, there's a Hell's Angel just pulled up. I said, oh, yeah, let's go see what he looks like. So I was coming up the alley, which is only like maybe 4 feet wide, and as I made the turn, he makes the turn, and all of a sudden I look at this big guy. His name was Big Vinny Girolamo. And
when someone's called Big Vinny,
6'4", 400 pounds. And I looked at him, he goes, hey, and he used to say, hey, how you doing, man? Big Vinny. I was like, New York City. That's how he used to talk. And I said, hey, how you doing? Chuck Zito. And we started talking, and I had a Golden Gloves patch on me because I was in the Golden Gloves. And he goes, you in the Golden Gloves, man? I said, yeah. He goes, my chief's in the Golden Gloves. He's a boxer, too. And I found out, the president of the Hells Angels, New York City, was a guy named Sandy Alexander. And found out that he was training at the Gramercy Gym on 14th Street, which was a big gym at the time. And I started going down there, and I met him, and we started training together, sparring each other, and that's how I started hanging out with the Hells Angels.
Now, did a lot of the Hells Angels train boxing and martial arts?
A lot of them do now. I mean, back in the day, there was very few of us. Sandy was a professional boxer. There was another guy named John the Baptist.
John LaFranco.
John LaFranco became a heavyweight fighter, became a pro.
He did pretty good.
Yeah.
You were at one of his first fights too, right, Chuck?
Oh, I'm the one that brought him to the gym.
And what year was that?
Well, it was 1980. I brought him to the Golden Gloves, the finals. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden he goes, I could beat those guys. And I says to him, I said, you know what, why don't you come to the gym tomorrow and prove it? And he came to the gym the next day. We sparred, and he loved it.
Wow.
And now he used to do a lot of, drink a lot, everything else. And he stopped everything and became a professional fighter. And he became an amateur first, and he went in the Golden Gloves, beat everybody there was, and in the finals, he fought a guy named, I don't remember, it was like it was yesterday, Antonio Sinelli. And he was a small guy, looked like Marciano, throwing out his punches, those haymakers. And John lost the decision to him.
Wow, that's
so
right.
The other guy, Sinelli, won the title. And then John was, discouraged with the amateur stuff, so he became a pro. And he had an 18-2 record before we all went to Club Fed.
For those of you that don't know what Club Fed is, that's an Italian. That's an Italian. I don't want to say mob slang. Is it? Is that? Am I correct saying that?
No. Just Club Fed is the federal prisons. I mean, so we call it Club Fed.
What do you think was the biggest lesson that you learned, and did those lessons carry on into your future life from being in the Hells Angels? What was the biggest thing that you learned from that?
I always have to say. Now, Sandy Alexander, who was the president of New York City, he was a stuntman in the movie business. And there was a movie in 1980 called Dead Ringer with Cher Meatloaf. And he needed guys to ride motorcycles in it. So who'd he get? The Hells Angels.
Right.
So we all had tuxedos on in the film, and it said Meatloaf on our back.
Wow.
So that's how we started, and I wound up getting the stunt bug. and I started being a stuntman. And Sandy was the stunt coordinator. All the shows he did, I was in it.
Yep.
And that's how I became
An actor.
An actor. Well, and I always give him the credit because it wasn't for Sandy Alexander and the Hells Angels. They opened the doors for me in Hollywood.
Right. Really.
And that's how it started.
They should do a documentary on you.
They're doing one right now. We're filming it.
I knew it. Is that right?
Yeah, we were here for 3 days. The people were here filming it on me on the set and everything. They're doing my life story. Will be out probably this summer.
Wow. Maybe we can send you a little bit of our footage, Chuck, and you could maybe mix that into
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And a guy named Dominic Milano is doing my documentary for me.
Wow.
So we started filming it. We started actually 3 years ago with a guy named Mike Moore, and he was in his production company. It was called Vidiots, and into production, they ran out of money and they couldn't finish it. And then I waited, a year or so, 2 years, and I found this guy Dominic, who I went to go see Michael Madsen's documentary, which was pretty good. I went to the Grumman's Chinese Theater, and this guy Dominic was there, and I asked him. I said, "Look, I have my life story is almost finished. It's 3/4 of the way done. Would you be interested?" He goes, "Absolutely. Everybody knows who you are. Let's do it." And so we've been filming it.
And how's that experience?
Oh, it's great. Because, when you do somebody's life documentary, maybe 5 or 6 people talk for them. I have up to over 30 people already.
Yeah.
From, Sylvester Stallone, Pamela Anderson, Mickey Rourke, Andrew Dice Clay, of course, Randy Couture, Mindy Robinson. We're doing Frank Stallone when I get back. We're doing Mike Tyson when I get back. So all these people are talking on my behalf, and it's just I'm blessed and I'm lucky.
I mean, you've had such an incredible life. Now, did the bodyguarding come after the Hells? After the Hells Angels,
because that's another thing. If I wasn't a Hells Angel, I wouldn't have been in that position. I was at a bike show at the New York Coliseum, and they used to have celebrity guests there, and Robert Conrad was there from Black Sheep Squadron, and knocked the battery off my, all that. So what happened was a lot of people were around him. His bodyguard asked me, could I help him get in the back? And of course, he saw me at Hell's Angel, and basically, when I walked in front of them, people would
part ways,
right? In like the Red Sea.
Isn't it amazing that those two, those 4 words, he's a Hell's Angel, can create such, just because of the infamous reputation that they have, that people will just get out of the fucking way.
They got out of the way.
And especially, like don't fuck with Liza Minnelli's bodyguard. He's a Hell's Angel, right?
Yes.
Hence the reason why they used to hire a lot of Hell's Angels for security at rock concerts and things like that.
Absolutely.
Now, I will say, as infamous as this amazing motorcycle club is, in Australia, I mean, these guys are all over the world.
All over the world.
I have actually partied at a clubhouse in Sydney, Australia with the Hells Angels, and I have to say it was one of the top 6 nights of my life. I felt completely safe. Everyone was completely respectful with all the girls that I was with that we brought there, and it was just such an amazing time. What's the biggest misconception that people have about guys that ride motorcycles?
Well, it's like I've done a bunch of shows, and the thing is that we're all drug dealers and drug users and all. I said, well, I'm the proof that we're not, because I never smoked, I never drank, I never took a drug in my life, never even tried it, never smoked a joint. And that's what pisses me off.
Does that piss you off?
Yeah, it does piss me off, because you know what? They you have this reputation that precedes you, and a lot of people look at you like you're a criminal organization and everything else, but it's not. Everybody has a job. I mean, everybody has. Some people don't, but most of them work. And like I did. I mean, I worked every day. I was a refrigeration mechanic when I first joined the Hells Angels.
Wow.
I had a family and
kids.
I have a daughter, Lisa, and people, have this perception of me and this, think about you. And that's what does, gets me crazy is.
But isn't it amazing how you've been accepted into this world of Hollywood? You've been a security and bodyguard for all these A-list people, and but you were a Hell's Angel. But they're supposed. That's just such an amazing accomplishment.
The thing about it, after I walked Robert Conrad in the back, I started talking to him as bodyguard. I said, you make money out of this? He goes, yeah, we make good money. I said, well, how'd you get started? He goes, you know what? The best thing to do, think of a good name, have cards made, and start handing them out. So I was a Hell's Angel. My name was Charlie Chuck. So I called it Charlie's Angels Bodyguard Service.
Nice.
Yeah, so I had the card made up, and I had a kickboxer, with wings, and I started handing them out. And I remember going to the Academy of Music with Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi to watch the Duran Sugar Ray Leonard fight.
Wow.
The first one.
That must have been fun.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. And then after the fight, they said, "Look, we're going to go to this place uptown called Cafe Central. It's a restaurant and bar." I said, "You know what? I don't like to go anywhere because I don't drink, and the only thing happens, things start. They see Hell's Angel, they want to prove themselves and things like that."
And you always wore your colors, right?
Oh, everywhere I went. You never saw me leave my house, or 24/7, basically. The only time I took them off when I was sleeping.
Is that right? And what about if people told you to take them off?
What?
If someone told you to take it off, like I know that there was an incident where you were trying to get a job at a club as a bouncer, and they told you that you had to take off your colours.
This is the place I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Let me take it. You're jumping ahead of me, man. You're jumping ahead of me, Baba. So they said, look, this is a place. There's all ballerinas there. There's all actresses there. I'll come. So we walked into the place, and it was called Cafe Central. It was up on the west side. And as soon as I walked in there, you saw celebrities all over the place. Girls and Treat Williams. You look in one corner, Treat Williams is there. John Goodman is there. Liza Minnelli is there. Cher is there. And I'm like looking in awe. I'm saying, wow. So they start walking around. I'm walking around. And the next thing you know, this guy, Paul Herman, comes up to me. He goes, how you doing? My name's Paul Herman. I'm the maitre d' here. He goes, look, my boss is asking me, you take off your jacket because you're scaring the people. I said, let me tell you something. I don't take my patch off for anybody. So, that's it. I said, you tell your boss to come see me. So, and this guy, Paul, after we became friends for years, he goes, I couldn't, I didn't want to go up to you. I was scared shit to come up to you and everything else. So this guy comes up to me, goes, this little Peter Herrera. He goes, hey, my name's Peter Herrera. I own the place. What's the problem? I said, well, you tell me. Your friend's telling me to take off my jacket. He goes, well, you're scaring all my customers. So you should take it off or you have to leave. I said, I'll tell you what. I don't take my patch off for nobody. And I'm going to leave when my friends leave, the ones who I came here with.
Right.
I says, first of all, let me tell you something. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Never took a drug in my life. Then he goes, let's sit down. Let's talk. After about an hour talking, he goes, you know what? You're welcome here anytime you want. And that was my new home every night.
Right.
I went there, put my motorcycle. I had my Hell's Angel patch on, and I just started going there.
Yeah.
And I started giving my cards out. Then the next thing you know, I brought a couple of Hell's Angels with me, and he's saying, oh, look, this, I don't need this place up here. And the crazy thing about it, one night we're there, I'm sitting with Paul, and we're sitting at the back table, and that's where the restrooms were. So I always drank a Coca-Cola, or they had the greatest chocolate cake. I would have chocolate cake with a glass of milk. And
Look at Big Chuck Zito eating chocolate cake and drinking milk.
And the crazy about it, Bruce Willis was the bartender.
Wow.
Before he was anybody.
Really?
Yeah, he did a couple of jobs. He did moonlighting. He did that, but he was the bartender. So I'm up there and I'm drinking my Coca-Cola. All of a sudden I see a hand come up and he takes my soda. So I look up and I says, hey man, what are you doing? He goes, I'm thirsty. I said, what do you want to get knocked out? He goes, I want to get knocked out. You know what? There's three of us. I said, really? Let's go outside. We went right there, wound up in the street. 3 punches, I knocked out all 3 guys. Boom, they're laying in the middle of the street. Who comes pulling up? Peter Herrera with his car, and Treat Williams gets out. And he gets out. See what? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And Paul went up. Look, Peter. These guys started it. Chuck finished it. And that's what happened.
Wow.
And I started, going to the place, and I brought a couple of the Hells Angels with me, and it was just a great place to hang out. And like I said, I started giving my cards out. I gave them to Liza. Next thing you knew, Liza Minnelli called me. Her sister, Lorna Luft, was doing a play called Snoopy on Broadway, and she was getting death threats, and she wanted me to work for her. And that's what I did. Basically, Liza hired me for Lorna Luft. And after Lorna, then I worked for Liza.
Right.
Once I worked for Liza, she was doing a play called The Rink at the Martin Beck Theater, and everybody came to see her in the dressing room. I don't care who it was. You know, it was Don Rickles, it was Elizabeth Taylor, it was Michael Jackson, it was everybody. Everybody came to see her, and of course they had
You're
to go,
at the door.
They
They
had
go through you
to
first.
come through me.
Wow.
They had to come through me. In fact,
Wow.
Liza loved it one night. She goes, I walked in there. I says, can you wait a minute? I says, Liza, there's Elizabeth Taylor's waiting. She goes, you have her waiting outside? You stopped Elizabeth Taylor from coming in here? I says, yes. She goes, I love it.
Wow.
You know? So
Wow.
it was great. It was great. And like I said, I met everybody. Liberace. I mean, Liberace. I used to, at the time, I had rings on every finger.
Yeah.
And Rich Liberace grabbed my hand. He goes, and we started comparing rings because he had rings on every finger. So I would go there, and he would show me his. And then my ring was bigger than his. And he showed me, and my ring was bigger than him. Then I had another ring called the Dago Warrior ring. Had big diamonds, a carat in each eye and everything. And I says, I got you there. So he has the piano. And all of a sudden he opens the piano and there's like 3 1-carat diamonds floating around. And I says, okay, you got me.
Is that right?
But
wow.
everybody came in there, and Andy Warhol would come in, and we'd take pictures. And Liza, the great thing about her, we did a movie back in 1982 called Hells Angels Forever. And she had the poster. As soon as you walk in, everybody saw the poster.
Wow.
And it was great. She was great. And at the end of the show, she used to jump on my motorcycle, and we'd take off.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, I don't think there's many people in the world that could tell stories. Like literally, you're the only person in the world that could tell those stories.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to say to you, who is probably the most famous person that you know, but you fucking know every single...
Everybody.
Everyone.
Everybody.
I mean, you've the list that we talked about before. So Bill Clinton.
Well, Bill Clinton, we were at a fundraiser together, and he saw me as a Hell's Angel.
Yep.
And he came over. He goes, "I love you guys." He put his arm around me, and that's actually the picture on the back of my book because I came out with a book called Street Justice.
Yep.
And that's the back.
Now, is there a funny story about you and Bill Clinton? I heard a story about you talked about.
Well, I was on.
Can we talk about that, Chuck?
I was on the Carson Daly show, right?
Yeah,
and he's great.
Yeah.
We did a great show. We did a great interview, everything. And I come out, and he goes, look, he goes, you and Bill. I said, there's a funny story about that. I asked Bill, I said, hey, Bill, what's with the dress? She goes, Chuck. He goes, Chuck, she's full of crap. There's no stain. She swallowed the whole thing. And they bleeped that out on the Carson Daly show. But the audience heard it.
I know.
It was great.
Now, is that a true story, Chuck?
No, I made it up. We used to jam together. I played the drums and he played the saxophone.
Yeah.
But we met one time at the and we became friends, of course.
Yeah.
And he was the president at the time, so that was great.
Wow. Yeah, awesome.
So,
now, Pamela Anderson, she's not only a client of yours, but also a good friend, right?
Yeah, awesome friend. Actually, she just moved back to Vancouver, Canada.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Was there any romance between you guys?
No. It was just that we were friends. I mean, a lot of people speculate and think, but no.
Yeah.
No. We were always
You always kept it professional, Chuck?
professional.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
So, most of the time. Okay, so Angelina Jolie, what's the situation? Because, I mean...
She was awesome.
Yeah.
She was awesome. I took her to the Hells Angels 50th anniversary party.
As your date?
And yeah.
Everyone must have just
they
freaked the fuck out.
They
Here comes
freaked
Chuck
out.
Zito on his Harley with
Yeah.
fucking Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. So-
I mean, come on, man.
At San Bernardino was the first Hells Angel charter. They call it Purdue for short. And they started March 17, 1948. So they had the anniversary party there, 50 years. And from there, we rode with like 400 Hells Angels in a pouring rain, 90 miles to Ventura. And she just held on. And,
Wow.
she was just a trooper. But she was on a bike before with me. We did a movie called Gia together.
Yep, that's right.
And
Oh, you were in
I
that?
played the biker, of course, and then who picks her up at the photo shoot. And
Yep.
I bring her, I ride her to the crack house.
Did you have the handlebar mustache then, Chuck?
No. That was came later.
They
That
come in the
came
Oz years, in the years of Oz?
Yes, I had no. I had Oz. I was clean shaven. When I did the Sons of Anarchy, I had the Fu Manchu.
Right.
And a
The
couple
Fu
of
Manchu, that's right.
Fu Manchu, yeah.
Now, with Oz...
Well, it wasn't really Fu Manchu. They call it a handlebar
Yeah,
thing.
the
'cause
handlebars. Yeah.
So
With That's just, I mean, like literally, there's just so much that we can go through that we can talk about. And there's a million and one things. So
I'm going to tell you just one story with Liza. She wound up marrying a guy named Mark Gero, right? And she invites me to a 4-year anniversary party. So she goes, I'm having a few guests. Just please come by. I'd love to have you. I said, okay. So I had all white leather on, leather pants, white shoes.
Where's that inspiration come from, Chuck?
Oh, it's crazy.
Where's that from?
Elvis,
Where's that come from, man?
Of course, Elvis. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Of course. And I look like Elvis Presley. So I pull up. She used to live on East, 69th Street. And 150 East 69th Street, and big high rise and doorman and everything. So I pull up on my motorcycle with my, Hells Angel colors on, all white. I had a white and red, red, white, and blue bandana on. And I go up there. I park the bike right in front of the lobby, doors over there by the all the glass. And I get off. I says, he goes, hey, could I help you? I says, yeah. I says, Liza Minnelli, please. So he goes, Liza. I said, yeah, Liza Minnelli. So he gets on the phone, and he goes, yeah, there's a guy here, Chuck Zito, I said, Chuck Zito for Liza Minnelli. He goes, Chuck Zito. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes. I'll send him right up. So he goes to me. He goes to 12th floor. So I start walking. I went back. I says, 12 what? She owned the whole 12th floor. Fuck. It was amazing. I mean, it was like, big mansion, but it was an apartment.
Yeah.
So, of course, I walk in there, and I'm the last one to get there. I walk in there with all my white leather on, my Hells Angel patch, and I just look. In one corner, you see Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, Christopher Walken. In another corner, you saw Lucille Ball, James Mason, so many people. It was amazing, man. I'm saying, oh, she's a few people here, right? And Diana Ross, Liberace, Halstead. All these people were there.
In that suite.
And I'm just looking around in awe. And meanwhile, they're looking at me and they're saying, I think they were more infatuated seeing me than I was of them.
Right.
And at the time, Flashdance just came out. So Jennifer Beals was the hottest thing, in a movie business.
Yeah.
And she was in there. And I'm saying, holy shit, man, I'm going up there, man. And it just... And I met all these other people because of Liza, and I started working for them as a bodyguard.
So that's probably how you
everyone.
got to work with Michael Jackson was through Liza?
Through Liza, actually, and of course Elizabeth Taylor also.
You did some work with Elizabeth Taylor?
Yes.
And okay, so what about like one of the most famous men in the world is not only a former client of yours, but one of your best buddies, Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone.
How long have you guys been friends for?
There's a story there too.
I want to know. I want to know it.
There was a place called Heartbreak. It was a bar downtown, and I went there. Everybody used to go there. I brought Cher there. I brought everybody. Liza, Pam. Everybody was hanging out there. So one night I'm there, and a guy comes up to me. This big, heavy-set guy, and he goes, "How you doing?" He goes, "You know what? You look a lot like Sly." I said, "A lot of people tell me that." He goes, I'm his bodyguard. I'm looking at him. I said, yeah, okay. I said, the only thing this guy guarded was the
pizza. No one could get it by it.
Was the food line, the buffet table. And I'm saying, yeah, okay. He goes, look, he's coming into town next week. We're doing a movie called Staying Alive with John Travolta. He goes, I'll have you work for me. I said, okay. Thank you. So I walk away and I go see Paul Herman. I said, hey, Paul, you see that fat guy over there? He goes, yeah, that's Tony Manafo. He's Sylvester Stallone's bodyguard. I said, you're kidding me. So now I went up to him. I said, look, if I don't get to work with you, I'd love to meet the guy because, he's my hero. No, when I say something, don't worry about it. You're working. I said, okay. So I'm reading the newspaper that they're right around the corner from the Hells Angels Clubhouse on the Bowery. At a place called CBGB's, which was a very well-known, famous place. Everybody played there. And I say, here's this guy, don't worry, I'll call you. Never called me. So I could jump on my motorcycle, and I go there. And now my hair was a lot longer. I had a red bandana on. I had glasses, sunglasses, but you could see through them. And I pull up on my motorcycle right in front of CBGB's, and the first guy that's there is Tony Manafo. He goes, "Hey, how you doing? I say, man, I thought you were going to call me when they came. Oh, no, we've been busy. Let me, come and meet Sly." It's okay. Sly's behind the camera because he directed Staying Alive.
Yep.
And who was, Fernando Hughes, who was in it, and Cynthia Rhodes and John Travolta, and he was behind the camera looking, and he goes, "Sly," he goes, "I want you to meet somebody, a friend of mine, Chuck Zito." So Sly turns around and looks at me, he goes, "Hey, it looks like I'm looking in the mirror." I said, "Yeah." So we became friends, and I started working for Tony, and I started bodyguarding, Sylvester Stallone. And then at the end of the shoot, I was with him for a good month there. At the end of the shoot, he goes, "Look, if you're ever in California, please come by the office." I said, "Okay, thank you." And, of course, I made it my way out to California.
Of course.
And when I walked in his office, he gave me a little box. And inside the box was this glove from Rocky III. And it says, Chuck from Sly on the back, 82.
Wow.
So, and I've worn it ever since.
Can I have that? Wow, that is a fucking badass story, Chuck.
And we became friends ever since, and we've known each other since 1982.
Wow.
So
you should call him and see if he wants to have a chat.
He moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Florida
doesn't want to
now.
pay those taxes in California.
You know what? Everybody's moving out, and he's in Florida. He loves it. So
yeah. And do you guys talk a lot? You see each other much?
We text each other a lot. It's hard to get him down on a phone, but we text each other. And I just texted him actually today. Yeah. This morning. So he's doing good, and his whole family's out there. His 3 daughters, his wife. Yeah. And
legend of. I've been obsessed with the movies and with Sylvester Stallone since, like my sister was saying to me when I was telling my sister I was interviewing you and talking to you, she's like, "Oh my God, the only one that knows your obsession that you had for Sylvester Stallone is me, because I fucking grew up with you, and that's all I talked about."
Absolutely.
So that's amazing. So
all of us. I mean, he inspired millions and millions of people. Come on, Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky. Yeah, Rambo.
Rocky, Rambo's, everything. Expendables. I mean, he created the greatest franchises in history. I mean, the guy is a genius. Yeah. If you think you see him in Rocky, and you know what? He held his guns because they wanted other people to play.
That's right.
And he said, "No, I have to do it. Yeah. I have to do it." They wanted Burt Reynolds. They wanted Ryan O'Neal. Yeah. I have to do it. I mean,
where does that mindset come from?
The cast is the greatest ever. Yeah. And he did it himself. And they even went up to like $50,000 to $100,000 to, I think, $1 million.
I think it was $1 million. That's right.
And he turned it down, and he was broke.
Okay, so that was going to be my next statement. Where do you get the mindset when you're fucking broke and someone goes, "I'm going to give you $1 million for this script"? Yeah. How do you turn that down if you had to sell your dog Bunkus?
Yeah. Which he got him back.
Which he did get Bunkus back. Yeah.
But I mean, he stuck to his guns, and look at him now.
And look at him now.
He's one of the greatest,
still in shape.
Stars there. 75 years old, still in shape. He's great.
Wow. What's
he's
the
just
secret?
So inspiring, man. He's just
he is. Do you watch the movies every now and then and still get that feeling?
I still watch them. Yeah. I watched Rambo just before I left for California. Yeah. And it's still great from the first time I saw it. Just the lines in it, and especially you see just the one-liners he has in Rocky, everything else. Yeah. When he was with Joe Spinell, who was a great actor, who played the wise guy there. Yeah. And he goes, "Rock, now that you're married," when he's getting married. "Rock, now that you're married," he goes, you want to invest in money? He goes, "Look, I just got married." He goes, "Look, condominiums, they're safe." He goes, "Condominiums? I never use them." Yeah, it's great. Just the one-liners there is great.
I mean, and there was something so innocent about the way that he said that, and the expression on his face. That was just such a classic line. I mean,
nobody could play that part but him. No. I don't care who it was. The same with The Godfather. All that cast was perfect. Yeah. Everybody's cast in Rocky was great. From Burgess Meredith, Mickey and Talia Shire and Adrian and Burt Young. Everybody was awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
Mr. T. Mr. T.
Clubber Lang,
who it used to be Leon Spinks, who just died. Rest in peace, Leon. Yeah. But he was his bodyguard. Wow. And that's how Sly saw him. He had that look, and that's how he got the job.
And what about Dolph Lundgren? How did he get the job? Wasn't he a bouncer at Grace Jones?
Yes, Grace Jones. And I used to hang out at Studio 54 all the time with Liza. and I met him. His actual name was Hans something. I forgot what.
Who, Dolph Lundgren?
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren. And he was going with Grace Jones at the time.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
we went down. Everybody used to hang out in the basement. Capote, Andy Warhol and Truman Capote and all those guys were all over the place down there. And I remember going into this room, and who opened the door was Dolph.
Wow.
Yeah. And me and Liza walked in, and of course he was there with Grace Jones. I mean, it was just the history and I just blessed with my whole life.
You must have a photographic memory, Chuck, because I notice you're very good at names and dates, and your memory's like photographic. But I suppose having the extraordinary life and doing the things that you do, you don't want to forget any of that, right? Do you have everything captured?
You know what? If we back in the day, if we had social media with these phones, I never got a picture with anybody. Nobody. The only pictures I had was when the photographers, paparazzi.
Yeah.
Those are my pictures. I never asked, and you never asked celebrities at the time.
Right.
I mean, one of the greatest moments was when I was bodyguarded Charles Bronson. He was a hero.
One of the first action movie heroes back in the day.
I never asked for pictures with anybody. But imagine if it was social. We had social media back then. I'd have pictures with everybody, and everybody.
Well, I'm going to ask for a picture with you after this, Chuck, just so you know.
Absolutely, be my honor, man. Be my honor.
So, what have you ever had your ass kicked? And if you have, by how many people?
The last time I got my ass kicked, I was 5 years old.
Really?
Yeah, there was a guy named Butch. I lived on Barretto Street in the Bronx, the South Bronx. And even at 5 years old, these guys had, crazy mentality. And every time I walked out, this guy used to beat me up. He was a big, fat mother kid. And that's when I started. I went crying home. My father one night, he goes, "You don't come on crying home to me." I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Then he pulled out his trunk and he took out the boxing gloves because he had a trunk with all his robes and with his robe, his trunks, his shoes, his boxing gloves. And he got on his knees and started teaching me how to fight.
Now, is that where your martial arts love came in?
No, I was boxing first. Even though I was 5 years old, he just showed me how to take care of myself. So, of course, I went out there, and of course, the next time I saw Butch, I punched him. He didn't move. I saw shit,
Yeah.
And he beat me up again.
Yeah. So,
but I was boxing for a long time. My first ring fight, I was 12 years old at the Southside Boys Club in New Rochelle. And then I went on, when I was 17, 18, I went into the Golden Gloves. But it wasn't until I saw the Green Hornet with Bruce Lee as Kato that I got the martial arts bug right there. And I says, I want to be like this guy.
Yeah.
And what I did was the following week, I went down to a karate studio, Aaron Banks Karate Studio in Times Square. And I started training in White Crane and Tiger Claw Kung Fu from Mr. Chin.
Wow.
And then from there, I went on to Kiyoshi Tommy May's Karate Academy, and I started training with in Jukido Jiu-Jitsu under Master Butte. And I started training with Tommy in Ishido Karate, where I earned my 6th degree black belt on the Kiyoshi Tommy May. And then after that, I went to Chris Colombo's East-West School in Komite Ryu Jiu-Jitsu, Viennese Jiu-Jitsu, and started training in that. And And now I train with Renzo Gracie in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
In New York City. When I get the time, of course. I haven't been there in a while.
Right. Well, how long are you shooting for here in Vegas?
I'm here until, I think, Wednesday. Then I go back to California for a week because we have like 3 feet of snow back home in New York, and I'm not in no rush to go home.
Yeah. You like the warmer weather out here?
Yes. Even though I lived my whole life in New York, I'm getting, I hate the cold already.
Yeah. So you're a big fan of the UFC.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, do we have that photo up there of me and Chuck? Is that one in there? You got that one in there? There's like a single photo. That's all right. I can slot it in afterwards. Do you remember where we met, Chuck?
It was at one of the UFCs, right?
Yep. It was backstage at the McGregor.
It had to be McGregor.
It was McGregor and Khabib weigh-ins, and we were backstage at the T-Mobile.
Yes.
And I walked up to you and I was like, "Hi, Chuck, I'm a big fan. Can I get a photo?" And you're like, "Man, you look so much like him. Let's take a snapshot."
Yeah, absolutely.
And is that one in there, Ian?
You look just like him at the time. I said, "Wow."
I mean, back in those days when I was doing the little impersonator thing, it was great because it got me the opportunity to get to meet all these amazing people.
Yes.
And So speaking of Conor McGregor, did you watch the fight a couple of weeks ago, and how did you think that went? And were you
You know what? I didn't see it. I only saw clips of it.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't even, it's hard to watch now because you have to be on.
I know it
Yeah,
sucks,
it's
right?
crazy. It's not even on pay-per-view no more.
No,
Where you
have to go to
enjoy
ESPN Plus,
You
and
have
then
to go, it's just a pain in the ass to do now. But I saw, and I was surprised. He did great the first 3 rounds, but then don't forget, Dustin Poirier is a great fighter too.
Yep.
He gets better and better.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I was talking to the director of physiotherapy from the UFC Performance Institute, and she was explaining to me the peroneal nerve that Conor had compromised during that fight. If you kick that nerve so many times, it's basically the same feeling as when you smack your funny bone.
Yeah,
You know when you smack your funny bone, you can't imagine trying to smack your funny bone and then write a sentence. Same kind of thing, getting kicked in the peroneal nerve. You can't walk. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way, but I do believe that they're in negotiations for.
I'm sure it'll be a rematch.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be a rematch.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I will say,
I
Conor,
was at most of his fights too.
You go to. Do you know Conor?
You know, no, I don't.
Yeah.
We passed by each other, but we never.
Yeah.
You know, we're introduced.
It's a small circle of people in this industry, right? I mean, everyone gets to see everyone, and the good thing about UFC is that Dana's been able to keep it going during this whole pandemic, right?
Absolutely.
And how great's that been?
Absolutely.
Because
I was in it. I was involved in it before.
It all got real big, right?
Dana and the Fertittas took it over.
Yep.
I was at the first UFC.
Right. UFC 1
in Denver, Colorado, 1993, March 12th. It was my daughter's birthday. I was supposed to be home.
Wow.
But I was there because I had a karate tournament there.
Yeah.
And Bill Wallace used to be in my corner.
Right.
And
was that Ken Shamrock UFC 1? I can't even remember.
UFC 1 was, it was all, of course, Hoist and all those guys. And you got to realize back in those days, there was no rounds, there was no rules.
Yep, there was no weights.
No weight class.
Yep.
You were allowed to pull hair, punch in the balls, everything.
Yeah.
And you either got submitted or knocked out.
Yep.
And you had to fight 2-3 times in one night.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
It was elimination fights.
Yep.
So
that's right.
For the first, I believe 4, then when they wound up, they sold it. But the guy was John Milius, the director, is the one who designed the Octagon.
Wow.
Yes. And it was the Gracies who had, of course, the first UFC.
Yeah.
And then they bought it, and of course they made it better. They made it, rounds, and because I remember watching, and I think it was Hoist Gracie and I believe these either Dan Severn or Chemo. They were on the floor like 45 minutes.
Wow.
And it was getting, a little boring. So now they made the rules and they made the rounds, which is much better.
Yeah.
And Dana brought it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
You know?
No, he's done extremely well with this organisation, and to keep it going through the pandemic for fight fans like us and for people that love watching sports, he's done a great job. Speaking of the UFC, speaking of Dana White, and speaking of Conor McGregor, I'm very proud to say that one of our affiliates here at the podcast is Proper 12 Irish Whiskey. This is the part of the show where I like to call it the passing of the proper. The boys send me over this whiskey, and I get to give it to all my amazing guests that take their time out of their day. Now, Chuck, I know you don't drink. Okay, and I know you don't smoke, and I know you don't take drugs, but Conor...
Well, I'll put it up on my souvenirs in my house because my house is like a museum.
Conor and the boys send all this over for me, and I was just going to say that, Chuck. I know you have a memorabilia room in your house. You've got some really great stuff. I like to call this the passing of the proper. Mr. Chuck Zito, your first bottle of Proper 12 Irish Whiskey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love the hoodie.
I know that.
I love the hoodie.
I don't think that's going to fit on you though, Chuck.
What he should have, like I told you before, he should have his 2 belts in there.
Yeah,
because he was the first one to get it 2, right?
Yep, the champ, the double champ. Yeah, the 145 and then the 155 division.
Awesome.
Yeah, so enjoy that, my friend.
Thank you so much.
I hope to see that in your collection one day.
Absolutely, you'll see it. Just like that with the hoodie, everything.
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you, Chuck? I mean, you're shooting this movie right now.
We're shooting a movie, and we're shooting Dark Angel, and it also stars Robert Davi, Michael Madsen.
Wow, Michael Madsen.
Dean Cain.
Dean Cain used to play
Superman.
Yep.
And also Richard Grieco.
Oh, Richard.
So it's a lot of people, a lot of stars in this movie, and it's going to be good. And like I says, it's Randy Couture and his girlfriend wrote it. Minnie
Wow.
Robinson. So
Yep. It's a vampire movie.
Yeah, it's a vampire thing. It's demons and something. And my thing, of course, I play a biker. Go figure. I don't know what I don't know where they got that from, but I play biker.
Were you the only real former convict that was in Oz that actually was in jail?
I believe I was. I mean, I believe I was. And
which makes it more authentic, right?
The crazy thing about how I got Oz, I went with a dear friend of mine named Brian Hamill, and we went to go see the documentary Only in America, the Don King story. 15 minutes into the movie, the projector breaks, so they turn the lights up. Brian Hamill introduces me to Tom Fontana, the writer and producer of Oz, and also Dean Winters was with him, who played Ryan O'Reilly. So Brian says, look, Chuck just got out of jail. Maybe he could be a technical advisor for you. So Tom looks at me and goes, you got a great face. Do you act? I said, yeah, of course. Of course. Of course. So he goes, I want you to read for a part of Sampan Camo. So I went down there. I read for Sampan Camo. I beat 40 people out for the part. And when I got the part, they changed it to Chucky Pancamo.
Is that right?
Yes. And I was the longest reigning mafia boss on Oz. And I was on it for 5 years. They started the first season. I didn't get on until the second season.
Yeah.
And it was great. And we could have won another 10 years.
Mate, that show was so popular. As Sons of Anarchy, man. Yeah. Is that a good payday for a show like that?
Well, don't forget, in Oz, not really. I mean, I never had an agent, manager. Even till this day, I don't have an agent or manager. Nobody.
Really?
And Oz, I got, believe it or not, I only got $2,000 a week on Oz from day one. 5 years later, I took home $1,356 every week, where I should have been making 20, 30, 40, 50,000. Every year it goes up. Wow. And I was just happy to be on a show because Tom said, anybody asks me for a raise, you don't get killed the next week. So I never asked. I was just happy to be on a show.
Yeah. And I suppose it gave you experience and you learned from that. Did you do acting classes?
Never.
Everything comes natural for you, right, Chuck?
Everything's natural, yeah.
Has your mindset always been the mindset of, I'm going to make something of my life. I'm going to stand out. I'm going to meet everyone that I want to meet. I'm going to go everywhere I want to go. I'm going to treat people with respect, and I'm going to fucking be loved. Is that how you've always thought?
You know what? The main thing is respect. If everybody had respect for each other, we'd be in a different, society. But I always had respect for people. Yeah. But I never really thought that far advanced. I just started working for these celebrities, and then, before you know it, all the puzzles, the pieces fell in together. Yeah. And I started, bodyguarding, and I started doing shows and stuntman and acting, and it was just great. And the great thing about it, people knew I was a Hell's Angel, and they, had respect for me, and I had respect for them. That's what it was. And just to have these people jump on my motorcycle, like Liza or Cher or Pamela Anderson, and jump on the back of my bike, you knew they had to be cool, to hire me in the first place. Yeah. So,
well, with everything that you've done, and I know this is probably going to be a difficult question for you to ask, with everything that you've done in your life, what would you say is your greatest achievement? You know what? I've had so many things happen to me in my, there isn't one greatest thing. Right. Just to be able to, my main thing is my family. I'm very close to my family. I mean, I still have my mom and my two sisters. We're very close, and family's first. Yeah. Always was. Always will be. Yeah. But I've just had so many opportunities in my life that made me, have a lot of fans, have open the doors for other people, and I've gotten a lot of respect from people. Yeah, like nobody. It wasn't the fear; it was just the respect and people, the love. Yeah, and I gave the same love back to everybody. Yeah. People were my friends. I don't forget. I met a lot of people, especially in Hollywood, being they're bullshit. Most Hollywood's bullshit. Yeah. They welcome me open arms, but meanwhile they stab you in the back. Yeah. And what you're saying, Chuck, you treat me good, I'll treat you better. You treat me bad, I'll treat you worse.
Absolutely.
I do my fucking research here, mate.
I see that, man. I see that. You did a lot of research, but that's, it goes a long way. That saying goes a long way.
Absolutely, it does.
And like I said, everybody, you respect me, and I give you the total respect back, and that's how I live life, Can
we show that? Can we show that 50 Hang on a second. Let me just correct this. Can we show that amazing? Is it the 57 Chevy?
My 57 Chevy, the Beast from the East.
The Beast?
Now, the reason I called it the Beast from the East was because of Vinny, the first Hells Angel I ever met. He was called the Beast from the East, and I dedicated it to him when he died.
Now check this thing out, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get to drive one of these around ever in your life unless you're Chuck Zito. This thing is just, I mean, what? The sound of it. I mean, what do people do when you drive down? Everyone's got
Neck Bridge in New York, Whitestone Bridge, and bumper-to-bumper traffic, and people get out of their cars and take pictures of the car. It's
and then when they
amazing.
see it's Chuck Zito driving it, it's a double bonus, right?
Yeah.
So
It's
cars
crazy.
and trucks and bikes are just a huge part of your life. You build your own bikes.
I build
you
my own
build your own
bikes,
cars.
cars.
You go to car shows. You have some of these phenomenal
Yes.
vehicles that you display and that you take to different
Yes.
shows. Have you still got the white Chevy? The white Corvette.
Yes, that's still there, and that's a '64 Corvette. It's got a red Stinger hood on it for a big block.
The little stripe down,
and red interior. So it's really, and it's 4-speed. It's a badass car.
Which is your favorite car?
That's actually it's bone cold stock. I didn't touch it. Even my '68 Dodge Charger, I got it. I pulled the 440 out, the automatic, and I put a 528 all aluminum Hemi with a Tremec 5-speed in it. And I put the old wing on the back from 1969 when they had it, when it came out for the Daytonas or the Superbirds. It had a big wing on the back. And I bought the original. I hate to get all this, aftermarket stuff because they're fiberglass now.
Right.
I went on eBay probably 15 years ago, and I bought an original all aluminum wing for $15,000.
That's a real car guy right there.
and I put it on the back.
Well, we call them petrol heads in Australia. A petrol head is that's what we call them. I mean, that is just bad. And you actually tell me about your famous. You have a famous chopper. You stole Mickey Rourke's chopper. Is that right, Chuck? Oh, sorry, you borrowed it and you just haven't given it back.
I in 1991, when the movie came out. He wanted me because he
tell everybody which movie we're talking about, Chuck.
We're talking about the Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, he didn't like the movie. I don't know why, and he didn't want to go to the premiere. So he goes, "Look, just take my motorcycle and drive it there." But I never did.
Yeah.
But I wound up having a motorcycle from 1991, and I took it home with me back to New York. I said because he had a garage, he had a bunch of bikes. He probably had 20 bikes at one time, but he had another bike there from a Wild Orchid. Was another famous bike. And I said, Mickey, they're just getting rusty over here. Let me take a couple of them back home, and I'll fix them and everything else. So I brought them home, both bikes. I wound up sending the Wild Orchid bike back to him, and I kept the Marlboro bike, which is called Black Death.
Right.
Now, it's the first, only, and the original bike that Mickey had and used for all the posters and the movie that he rode. Now, there was a second bike called, the stunt double bike, which his stunt double rode. And I've kept the bike, and I've had it for now 30 years.
Do you ride
30 years. All the time.
Really?
All the time.
What's your favorite vehicle out of all those ones, Chuck? Do you have a number one? You can't
they're
pick,
all,
can
they're
you?
all.
You love them
they all have their own character. I pull out the Charger. It's a Charger, for the day. And I drive all my cars. I'll put 200 miles on a day when I take them out.
Really?
Yes. And like the Mickey's bike, I took the, Black Death to a run. I rode it. Now, if you see it, the seats, like a quarter of an inch thick. It's just a piece of leather on there. And I rode that to Cody, Wyoming, to a Hells Angel USA run. And when I got there, I was like, you didn't ride this here. I said, of course I rode it here. So I took that bike all over the place.
Yeah.
And I recently gave it back to him probably a year ago, right? He wanted it back for a photo shoot. And I says, okay. I sent it out to him. And I actually told him, I said, hey, I'll trade you the Vet for the bike. I said, this Vet's worth $85,000. And he goes, no, I just want the bike for the photo shoot. So when the day the bike gets there, he calls me up and goes, I'll trade you for the Corvette. I said, Mick, I would have never traded you. I mean, I would have never sent the bike out here. I would have just sent the car.
Right.
So he used it. I went back out there 4 months, and he wound up leaving the bike out in the backyard in the rain, and it's rusted, the whole bike. I said, you still want to do the trade? Absolutely. So I took the bike back. I took it all apart.
Cleaned it up.
had everything chromed all over again, put it back together. And I still have the bike now.
Yeah.
So
Has he
it's
seen it
30
since you got
years.
it all done nicely?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Because he might want it back.
I think he does want it back, but, he's going to have to give me a lot of money for it, all the money I spent on it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, favorite movie?
That I did, or my favorite movie?
Your favorite movie?
I think one of my favorite movies has to be First Blood with Sly, and definitely The Godfather.
Okay. And favorite movie that you've done?
It has to be, one of them is a movie I did with Jason Statham, James Franco, Keith Bosworth, Winona Ryder. And it was called Homefront. And I had a great part in it. But my greatest movie today has to be Honor Amongst Men.
Honor Amongst Men, yep.
I'm the lead actor.
Mm-hmm.
It's Robert Clohassie, also Robert Clohassie, Joan Jett, Ed Asner, and Vincent Pastore.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am the lead. My name is first before anybody. It comes up Chuck Zito in Honor Amongst Men. And that's big.
Man, so, especially sitting in the theater, right, Chuck, and you see your name come first. Yes. Wow, brother.
And
wow.
And that's the biggest movie I ever did. I'm in the beginning of the movie, throughout the whole movie, and the last person you see is me at the end. And we're going to do a sequel because it calls for a sequel.
We're going to watch that one tonight, honey. All
Did
right?
you see Honor Amongst Men?
No, we're going to watch it tonight. We are going to watch it tonight. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to text you.
And the motorcycle I ride in it is the one I built that I still have.
Okay.
And I built all my bikes. I built the bike for Sons of Anarchy, which is the crazy story because everybody had like a black dyno or a black FXR. I built this crazy white chopper with all root beer flames with 6-foot upsweeps. I took a World War II German helmet, made it my oil tank. I took a 1916 Model T Lantern, made it my headlight. I took rockers made in blades with handles for my rockers. And I said, you know what? This is going to be the baddest fucking motorcycle in Sons of Anarchy. So I get to the set, and everybody sees the bike. The next thing I know, I'm standing there. All of a sudden, Kurt Sutter comes out, who was the creator of Sons of Anarchy. He looks at the bike, and I saw him looking at it. So I walk over. I said, "How do you like it?" He goes, "Chuck, this is a masterpiece. It's a work of art. It belongs in a museum. I have never seen anything like it."
Wow!
But you can't ride it in a movie. What? You can't ride it on the show. I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Because everybody will be looking at you and your motorcycle and nobody else." I said, "Well, that's the fucking plan, man. That's the idea." And he wouldn't let me ride it.
Wow.
So I says, "Well, look, I built the bike for the show. You got to let me show it in, on the one of the episodes." So in 2 episodes, he had me building the bike on the show for a bike show.
Wow. So they incorporated that part into the show just because you had to want to showcase your bike.
Yes.
That's badass.
I spent a whole month, day and night, with Mondo Porras from Denver's Choppers out in Reno building this bike just for the show.
Wow. And you paint and everything, Chuck?
I paint everything, but I didn't paint that one.
Right.
Another guy called Little Mondo painted that.
So Howard Stern, you've been on Howard Stern a lot.
Oh, a lot.
Now, how was that experience, and how does it compare to this little show that you've been on today?
Howard Stern was good. I mean, I wound up doing his show so many times. He gave me my own show called Chuck Zito's View.
That's right.
That I had on it for 6 years.
Incredible.
So, of course, I went on the show back in '98 after the Van Damme thing, Yeah. And he called me on. He goes, the next day in the paper, it had a picture of me and had a picture of, Jean-Claude.
Hang on a second. One sec, Chuck. For anyone that doesn't know, Chuck Zito kicked the shit out of Jean-Claude Van Damme one night in a nightclub. I think it was a 1-2, and then followed by a bit of ground and pound. Is that correct, Chuck?
Yeah, but you know what? It's happened so long ago.
Yeah, but it's still a good story, Chuck.
That was 23 years ago.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about it, I felt so bad because I got so much publicity from somebody else's misfortune.
Yeah.
And it took us 17 years to talk to each other again.
Oh, bless.
So now we're dear friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I know his family. I know his daughter. I know his son, Nicky. I know everybody. And we're friends. But it happened 23 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's almost not a day that goes by that somebody asks me
About the Jean-Claude Van Damme thing.
Tell me about the story. I used to forget about it. It was so long ago, man.
Well, it's good that you guys got to move on, but it's also good to be able to say that you did it. But you bodyguarded for him, right?
Yes, I was his bodyguard back in 1992.
Yeah.
And haven't seen him since in 6 years when the incident happened in Scores strip club in New York City.
He was talking smack in the bathroom. Someone came up and told you.
No. He went to the bathroom. He came back and somebody told me he was talking smack about me in the bathroom.
He said you're full of shit, right?
Yeah. So, shit like that happened. And, it didn't work out well for him. But
all I got to say is Jean-Claude Van Damme must have been on a lot of alcohol that night to tell Chuck Zito that he's full of shit.
He wasn't, because that's another thing that pissed me off. People said, oh, he was drunk. He was doing a movie and drinking water.
Right.
And that's the one thing that pissed me off, because I never hit a drunk guy in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like I said, it happened so long ago, and we're friends now. We patched up. It took 17 years to patch it up, and we're friends. So, I want to keep it that way.
No, of course. Hey, no, nothing. I just had to mention that because
you and everybody else does.
I know. It was just one thing that I had to mention. So, hey, listen, man. So the Howard Stern thing was good. How was your experience on my show today?
Oh, it's awesome. I think your studio is amazing, man. It's really, it's just like shit. It's more
like a man cave.
Man cave than Howard's, man. You know.
Yeah.
I love it when as soon as you walk in, you see the guitars. Signed by everybody. You see, Bruce here. You see everything, man. Yeah. The gloves signed by Mike Tyson, and of course the guy who used to bodyguard. Your picture with him. Yeah. It's awesome, and of course seeing the Dragon.
The Dragon.
Right there.
The King
Bruce
of
Lee.
Kings.
Yeah, he's the King of Kings. And you know what? I always say he was 100 years ahead of his time.
Yep.
Ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. I think he was the baddest martial artist. And still, if you pick up a magazine, now he died in 1973.
Wow.
You pick up a magazine today, he's either on the front cover or somewhere in it.
Yep.
And that's his legacy will always live on, and everything else. And I'm supposed to be going to Hong Kong, in the next few months. I think it's May. I'm going August. I'm going, and I want to go and take the picture next to his statue.
That's the statue there,
Absolutely.
For sure.
And he's buried in Seattle.
That's right. You can go to his gravesite if you like there too.
Yes.
Chuck, I've known who you are for a long, long time now. We kind of connected on social media. We met at the Conor McGregor gig. You've always been such a class act. You've always supported my show. You've always liked, commented, or gave me the thumbs up. And it's just been a true honor to be able to have you here in the podcast, because it only elevates my status and my credibility being able to speak to such an amazing person with such an amazing story.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the love, everything, and all the great, everything, the comments and everything about it.
Of course. And if there's
that introduction was great. You want to be my agent? I never had one. Go believe it.
What percentage do I get?
Never had one.
You don't need one, mate. You can do it yourself. But I do appreciate that. My introductions are well known around the podcast industry. But Chuck, just in closing, before we part, if there's just one thing that you could say to anybody out there, maybe your fans, maybe someone that needs a bit of advice on how to pick themselves up and move forward in life. Maybe someone's not feeling the best and they're listening to your story and thinking, "Fuck, my life is so shit compared to his." Is there something you could say to
it's just life alone. I have a sign on my bedroom door that says every day is a gift, just to be able to breathe and walk around. But I always tell people, don't ever give up. Keep fighting for what you believe in, and your dreams will come true sooner or later. And that's what I do. I mean, I'm fortunate. I've done a lot in my life, and there's still more to do. And
lots more,
I tell people, just don't give up.
Don't give up.
Keep fighting. Keep fighting.
Give up.
And look for that. Thank you so much. Awesome. Awesome being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Mate,
you're an awesome guy. You're an awesome, announcer. Great podcast you have, and all the people here. I'm just happy to be here.
And it's just been a treat for me. I pretty much couldn't sleep last night because I was so excited about this today. I'm not going to lie.
Man. Thank you.
I literally couldn't. And my lovely fiancée and all my family, when they found out that you were coming on, everyone was just blown away. A couple of my buddies, one of my buddies from Ireland, had to come in and say g'day. So I just want to say once again, thank you very much, Mr. Chuck Zito, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Marcus Deegan for the What Happens Here podcast with the legend himself, Mr. Chuck Zito. I'm out. I'll see you next time.